on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. First off, Mr. McNair, 10 years. Are you surprised it's gone by so fast?
I am. It just seems like yesterday that we first started, and these seasons go by so quickly. It's a whirlwind.
How much of the team landscape has changed over the last decade?
Well, we have completely rebuilt our organization, and I think that's typical with a new venture. You start out with one group, and over time you gradually make changes, and before too long, all of a sudden it's a brand new organization. And so we did that about 4 years ago, basically, and now we've got a good solid front office, and we've got a good solid coaching staff, and we've got a good solid roster. So you know, it's where we want to be, and we just have to keep working hard to remain there.
You've talked about staying patient and staying the course and following a vision. I know you told me that a couple of years ago. And a couple of years ago also, fans were calling for Gary Kubiak to get fired, and he said, he's my guy. You know, just be patient. He's going to get where you're going. I mean, after last year, that validation, how nice is that?
Well, it is, because, you know, it's a validation of your judgment. But, you know, that was our judgment then, and we felt we had every reason to have confidence in him. We thought we knew where the problems were, and that we could correct those problems, and once we did, we'd be a good, solid team, and it has worked out that way.
You know, you look at some teams in the NFL, and the turnover at coach is about 2 years at the most. I mean, how important is continuity with the coaching staff?
I think it's very important, and first of all, it takes time. You can't just go out. You bring in a new coach, he can't go out and immediately bring in all the assistants that he wants, because they're all under contract. So it takes him several years to put together a staff that he's comfortable with. So you have to recognize that there is that degree of difficulty, and you have to be patient enough to let that happen. And the other thing is, even with your scouting group, you don't know how good the players are until they've been there for 2 or 3 years, and everybody evaluates, you know, what your draft was this year. Well, you really don't know in 1 year, and so you have to be patient about that too.
Talk about what Wade Phillips has meant to this organization, with everything that went on for him up in Dallas. You know, was there any hesitation in bringing him here to Houston? And obviously, it's paid off well.
Well, I think his situation, in a way, was similar to Gary's situation. Look around the league. How many coaches are there in the league that are great on offense and great on defense?
Not many. Not many.
Anybody come to mind? No. And because these guys came up through the ranks, they were either a defensive coordinator, or came up on that side of the ball, or they were on the offensive side of the ball. You know, they didn't do both, and so they have their strength, and as a result of that, they have a bias. You know, and they're going to spend more time in that area where they have the greater knowledge, and so they've got to have somebody on the other side of the ball from them in order to really make it work. And in our case, we have a guy that's a great offensive mind in Gary Kubiak. He needed that defensive mind to work with him to put together, you know, that solid team. Wade Phillips brings that. I mean, there's no question but what he's a great defensive coordinator, and I've said this. He's a good coach. He doesn't have anything to prove as a head coach. He's been a good head coach, but he hadn't been a great head coach. You know, he's not Vince Lombardi, but in terms of being a defensive coordinator, he can be one of the greatest defensive coordinators we've seen. And so, you know, there's that opportunity for greatness for him in this role, and so it's worked out very well.
Texas is a football state. You know, 2 teams here. How have you seen the footprint of the Houston Texans expand throughout the great state of Texas?
Well, you know, everybody wants a winner, and so people are not going to gravitate to your team until you win. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of our improving as a team, our footprint is expanding, and it will continue to expand as long as we continue to win. And the other thing is, I think we try to do things a little different from some of the teams, in that we really think character is important. We think it shows up on the field, and you know, some teams don't think that's important. And so there are sports fans out there who say, you know, hey, I really want to be have an affinity for a team that looks at life the way I do. Not only goes out and plays well, but also behaves in a way that I can be proud. And so I think that we have a loyal fan base that understands what we're doing.
Well, and again, it's kind of a family business. Cal, talk a little bit about your role and how you've seen things change over the last 10 years.
Well, what I see where we are now is we have a great foundation in place that we can build on and have constant improvement, even though, as you'll see in the teams, you have personnel changes due to the salary cap and things like that. But I think we're on a path with our continuity to have constant improvement on the team and on the field, which is really exciting going into these future years.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at specific to the salary cap, the issues that the Texans had this offseason and having to shed some of that. Talk about how that affected what you guys were going to do in the draft.
Well, we don't want to lose any of our players.
Right.
We love all our players, but it's just part of the business, and then you try to get better as they rotate out. Natural.
Absolutely. All right. Now we've tried talking to some of the players about goals this year, and they all talk about beating Miami September 9th. Honestly, is anybody going to talk about going to New Orleans?
Well, yeah, we that's what we expect, but you don't spend time talking about that. You spend time talking about that next opponent, because that's what's important, and so we focus on that. But no, we are a good football team. We expect to go out and play like a good football team, perform like a good football team. That's what we take for granted. That's what we have to do, and if we do that, good things will happen. And we don't think we have to have good luck. We just don't want any bad luck.
Great
and
stuff.
we want to beat Miami.
Yeah, beat Miami. It all starts there. Gentlemen, appreciate you taking some time in the hospitality your entire staff shows us here while we come down from San Antonio.
Well, we love to have you from San Antonio, and I know we've got some great fans over there, and we welcome them anytime, and we send players over and visit with y'all, and they're always well treated, and we appreciate that.